keep it busy, but we can always share some ditties. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome to Tea Time. Miss Liz here. And that's right, we have a returning guest. And you know how Miss Liz loves returning guests because the ice is already broken with my guests. We have Shamayne Olivia Kotfas in the back, and we're going to talk about her work, her book and the workbook that I got to get. And my daughter and me are going to be working on that workbook together. So, but before we get started, you guys know how Miss Liz rolls. Get over to all the platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, all those good platforms. Give those a like, follow, and subscribe, and get these tea times out there because they do make a difference for the guest and for all the viewers out there that may resonate with the stories that are being brought to the tea time. Let's get started with a disclaimer and then a beautiful intro, and let's get Shamayne in here and let's spill some tea. And tonight's tea is reclaiming a fresh identity. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real-life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree, Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. Miss Liz welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time where Miss Liz, where conversations become turning points and stories help us step more fully into who we are meant to be. Today, we welcome back a returning guest whose journey is rooted in growth, alignment, and the courage to live authentically. Please join me in welcoming Shamayne Olivia Kotfas. Shamayne's work centers around personal transformation, helping people recognize their worth, align with their purpose, and move forward with confidence in who they are. Her message is one of empowerment, encouraging others to release old limitations and step boldly into the identity they are meant to live. Through her journey and the work she shares with others, Shamayne reminds us that growth is not always comfortable, but it is always possible. When we choose alignment over fear, we begin to see ourselves and our lives differently. So grab your cup and lean in. Today's Tea Time is about identity, growth, and stepping fully into the person you are becoming. And let me get Shamayne in here. Let's spill some tea.
Hi.
Welcome.
How you doing? It's great to be here again.
It is a pleasure to have you back. I always love returning guests because then I know I'm doing something right.
Me too, I guess.
So Shamayne, for the people who haven't seen your first Tea Time, could you share a little bit on who you were as a little girl and who you are now?
Sure, sure. Well, I'm the oldest of four children between my mom and dad, and they divorced when I was 8. And those 8 years, my formative years, were pretty difficult because I took on a lot of the adult responsibilities much too young. Both of my parents struggled from their childhoods that they never addressed. My dad was an alcoholic, and my mom was just emotionally immature. I'd say they both were. So, and she was left alone a lot to care for four kids. So I took up the slack for her. And by the time I was 9 and 10, I was pretty much doing everything in the home because she worked and I was at home with my younger siblings. So it was a difficult time. I, didn't know any different back then, but it did impact me as I got older and realized that I had not been nurtured or learned some of the things that parents would pass on to their children, or the healthy things that parents would pass on to them. So I lived with my dad when I got a little bit older, around 12. And when I graduated from high school, I left home and have been on my own since then. I say that my own, but I did get married and I had children. And so today, I'm a much different person. And the journey I started in midlife is really the one that changed me to become the person I am today. And I'm happy, so much happier with the person I am today.
Well, that is good. Well, Shamayne, I want to get into your tea right away, and then we'll get into the workbook in your book. So the
Okay.
tea that you gave me was reclaiming a fresh identity through discovery, connection, and authenticity. Tell me why you gave me that tea.
Um, when we talk about the journey at 41, I asked myself, who am I? And it was funny because I was talking to a woman yesterday, and she said, as I was telling her part of my story, she's like, oh my gosh, at 40, it was like a light switched on for me. And I didn't know I didn't know who I was. And I'm 7 years into it and I'm still trying to figure it out. And so, yes, it's so important for us to remember that we wear a lot of hats as women, especially. We wear a lot of hats. We play a lot of roles. We're constantly taking care of others. And it's so important for us to really begin to identify who we are at our core. Who were we born to be? Who were we meant to be? And who do we want to be? And so that's the journey I started around 40. And I've talked to many women who feel that same tug, that same pull at that time. It's we're going through so many emotional and physical changes and mental changes. Things are just we're also, kids are growing up and leaving home. And so we're left with ourselves and just trying to figure out who are we. And that's how I came to this place of really understanding myself in my 60s now. But during that time, I just really dug deep inside and just asked a lot of questions of myself. Nobody was going to answer that for me because all the answers were inside me.
So, Shamayne, let's get into this incredible workbook that I have here. I'm going to hold it up. Let's talk about this workbook. How did it come about? How did it all start?
Well, around 50, I had, as you can imagine, in 10 years, I had done a lot of soul searching. And I had been through a lot of changes too, because in that period of time, I had been through divorce and loss, lost many personal things, lost my house, my job. The week before my divorce was final, I lost my job. And it was a difficult time back then with the economy and things. So I went 4 years without a full-time job. I worked everywhere I could to keep, my head above water. And to get to the place where I was finally able to breathe and start focusing on myself, the day I got a full-time job again, I was so excited. I was going to be working for a corporate company that was going to pay well, had benefits, all these wonderful things. And the next day, my first husband was killed in an accident. And when that happened, I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall back and start all over again. But instead of doing that, I found myself in deep reflection. And I said, why did he have to go? And why am I here? I don't understand. None of us understand when those things happen. It was tragic and it was sudden. But in that silence and in that moment, I heard the words, "You belong." And I thought, I belong. And it wasn't like he didn't and I did. It wasn't like it was a choice. It was just that you're still here and you belong. And you need to find your purpose. You need to figure out why you're still here. So the next several years, I started really understanding more about myself and figuring out who I was. I found my voice. I began to set boundaries with unhealthy relationships. I began to find a healthier support system of people that could back my journey and just really hold me up and encourage me. And then I got to a point, I thought, I really want to help other women. I have been through so much. I have managed to bounce back. I didn't let it bring me too far down. I just found a way to make it through. And what were the things that I learned on that journey? What did I do? And so I began journaling that and trying to figure that out. What had I learned? And it was in 2016 in the summer, and I'm remarried by now. And I told my husband, I said, I just need to get away. So we left and went on a road trip, and it was just a wonderful time to relax and reboot and recharge. But when I got back, I had a dream that I was going for a walk with someone. It was a coworker. And when we got outside, I was not wearing my shoes. And I was like, in my dream, I'm looking at my feet. I have on socks. And I'm like, why aren't you wearing your shoes? You always take shoes on a walk, or you always wear shoes on a walk. By the time I went back in my dream to get my shoes, I woke up and I heard the words, "You're going to teach women to find their shoes for their journey." And I knew in that moment that is how I was going to teach women. And that's where the workbook came from. And the shoe, to me, symbolized our full identity. The shoes we wear on our feet give people an idea of who we are. What's your style? Where do you work? There's all, what is your hobby? What, do you run? Are you a runner? Are you an athlete? Are you a nurse or a doctor? We can usually tell. Are you a fashion model? Do you work in corporate? You can tell people by their shoes. And then the shoe in my mind was a running shoe, and it began to break into 8 pieces. And those 8 pieces defined the elements of who we are. And it starts with our soul. The soul of the shoe is like our foundation, or it is the foundation of the shoe. And so our soul is our foundation. And we need to kind of peel back all the layers of all the things that were shaping us as we grew up, and begin to rebuild that foundation.
So Shamayne, was there a special pair of shoes that you had that really stuck out with the cover of the book?
Well, the cover of the book, it's the outline of a shoe. And of course, the one in my mind when I was pulling the components apart and started naming the heel as for healing, and the arch for a support system, things like that, I just pictured a running shoe. And I thought that was appropriate because when we go for walks or runs or hikes or whatever, we need the proper shoes to fit, to make sure that we can make it through that journey, that hike, that run, climbing a mountain, whatever it is. We need to have the proper shoes that fit. And so in my mind, it was like a running shoe or a walking shoe, because I like to take walks. And so the outline of the shoe just kind of, the center of the shoe, you held it up, but that center design, my husband is a creative designer. He's a graphic designer. And if you look at that, when we were working on it, the people that were designing it for us didn't even notice this. But as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh my gosh, that bottom part is like the heel. That's where we start. We start with the healing. And then as you keep going through the steps, you grow. And by the time you're at the end, that heart has grown so much, and our hearts have become, the heart that we were seeking, the heart that we were needing. And I just, it was just amazing how that just all fell into place at that moment. But I knew, because it was so significant, that was my calling, that I needed to share this with other women and help them at that point in life, and their point in life where they're transitioning or they're having trouble figuring out. I know I was unhappy in work, and it wasn't because of the work. It was because I was unhappy inside. And so as I began to, figure out more about myself and really begin to accept myself and love myself again, I began to love the things around me. And that included my job. And if there was something I wasn't happy with, I found other things to do. I found ways that aligned with who I was.
Shamayne, we have a question here coming in, and it says, how can someone begin reclaiming their identity after trauma?
Well, I had a lot of help. I think it's important to have the right help. I started with therapy, and I did support groups with other women, so that I feel like, especially with women but most everyone, it helps to talk about things with others who have been there, or that are the professionals that know this. But once that was part of the buildup to where I was really learning about myself. And so learning about the things from my past that were holding me back, once I had a name for it and I could identify those things, then I could work to change that in myself. With that professional help for a while, and eventually I learned how to do it on my own, because I became acquainted with who I really was. And I understood, okay, I don't have to blame my parents for this. They didn't know better, but I don't have to let it define me anymore. I don't have to be passive aggressive anymore. I don't have to be, codependent and all these things. I can take care of myself now. And so I began really nurturing myself and not being so hard on myself. If I made a mistake, I used to tell myself, oh, you're so horrible. You're just a horrible person. How could you do that? How could you be so
And we
stupid?
talked about this in your first tea time.
Yes. And I thought, you know what? That's what my mom used to say to herself when she made a mistake. So I'm just repeating something I learned. And so then I learned, by listening to, reading books and listening to my therapist, and I realized, you're not a bad person when you make a mistake. You just made a mistake, and we all make mistakes. So, the biggest thing for me to get past the trauma and everything was identifying it and recognizing for what it was, and then finding a new way of doing things.
Another question we have here is, what is the first step to finding your true voice again?
Oh, I love this question, because the tongue of the shoe represents our voice. And the way I practiced doing this was first I aligned myself with my own values and my own beliefs. That was something I had to discover. I discovered that many of my values and beliefs aligned with my parents or people around me. And I realized that didn't really feel like me. I mean, and so I actually Googled what are values. And so I could actually see a list to make sure I was aligned, naming the right things. And I started picking out those values. And so I know what they are now. I know the things that I value deeply now, but that helped me understand that. And so when I would, we had a thing in my family that when if you talk to, my parents or my siblings or something, we always ended with, I love you and miss you very much. sometimes I didn't feel like that. Now, I always had a love for them because they, but I also knew that sometimes I didn't feel that because of how I felt dismissed and or mistreated. And I wasn't after working through some of the anger early in my healing journey. I began writing when I would send a birthday card or a Christmas card or Father's Day or Mother's Day, or and then later we're texting, but this was before we had phones. I thought, you know what, I can start by just signing, being very honest about how I feel without hurting the person. And like I said, I had love for them, but I didn't love them very much and miss them very much at that time. And so I just started signing Love, Shamayne. And they didn't notice. It wasn't like I had broken some big rule or anything. It was just that I was being honest with myself. So I started it through writing and then eventually texting. And when I talked on the phone, I just tried to be as honest with what I was saying and not try to make them feel better. That was the people pleaser in me. I always wanted to try to say things to make them feel better. So I stopped trying to do that and just trying to be honest and just have a conversation without worrying about what they're thinking about me.
Shamayne, we talked about this in the first tea time, boundaries, and we have a question here. What advice would you give someone struggling with boundaries? We talked about this in our first tea time. If you guys wanted to check it out, she was on season 6, and you can check out her first tea time. But share a little bit about boundaries, Shamayne.
Boundaries are going to be different for everyone. And I don't mean, us as individuals that are setting the boundaries, but also for the people you set your boundaries with. It's going to be, it's going to depend on what that relationship is with them. And so you have to look at each one individually. And one of the things I started doing, let's just start with my outer circle, the people that I maybe worked with, or they were more acquaintances than close friends and things like that. And I just kind of stopped, engaging with them unnecessarily. I found that, that was the first step. And then I kind of worked my way inward to where I got into my family, which was going to be the hardest for me. But the boundaries I set were, like, for instance, with my parents, sometimes if you were on the phone with them too long, they would start picking arguments with us or voicing an opinion. And if we didn't agree with it, they wanted to, fight about it. Well, I just started limiting my time on the phone with them. And I kind of stepped into the leadership role of deciding how long that call would be. Or if I go to visit, I would make sure that I only stayed a certain amount of time. And it began to work because I wasn't around long enough for them to get to that point of arguing. But as far as someone struggling to set those boundaries, I think you just need to be clear and decisive about what you want in that relationship. And then do the things that in order for you to have that type of relationship. I never cut people out of my life completely, but I just stopped putting so much effort into those relationships that were not healthy for me. And eventually, without me having to do a whole lot, they kind of just fell off and went away. And in the meantime, I'm putting my energy more into building stronger relationships with people that I really liked, that I felt were a good influence on me and people I wanted to be around, and focused on those relationships, and those got stronger. So soon I was surrounded by people that were healthy for me. But it's very, very difficult sometimes especially when it's close to home and it's people in your own family. And I remember my mother told my sisters, Shamayne's distancing herself from us. She's leaving us. She's abandoning us. Well, I understood that she was saying that because she was feeling a difference in me. I wasn't abandoning them. I still was there.
You were loving from a distance, like we said in the first time.
Distance, yes. And so eventually she stopped saying that, and I would still talk to her. So I would just never let her get off on a tangent or anything. And I would just keep the conversation at the surface level. But that's what I had to do with my mom, and people. You just kind of, that's where self-awareness comes into play, because you really need to be aware of your values, how you feel, and then and kind of meet them where they are. Remember, I said my parents were emotionally immature. Well, I could imagine the age they were stuck. My mom was stuck, maybe an 8 or 10-year-old. My dad was stuck around 12-year-old. That was a 12-year-old when he was abandoned by his father. So I talked to them, not down to them, but on that level. My mom could never get that deep. So I would talk to her, just about, and the things she was interested in, I would talk about that. But if that is actually what a boundary is. It's just learning how to talk to people on where they are.
So, Shamayne, I want to talk to you about the book, because the book is not the same as the workbook. So let's talk about the book. Is it your personal story? How does it work? Can we use the workbook with the book if we purchase the book?
Yes, absolutely. My book is it's a teaching memoir. It's not a typical memoir, and it's not a typical self-help book. So what it does is it intertwines some of my life story from a certain point. It's actually from the beginning of my journey. I give a little bit of a backstory, but yeah, it talks about the journey, and then each chapter is the one of the shoe steps, and I give stories around those steps and how I came to understand that and make it work for me, like with the voice. And the other thing I was going to mention about the voice was that I was learning how to stand up for myself. And once I learned, really, I embraced my values and my integrity, I began to speak a little at a time with people that I trusted. I would begin to say something, and if I didn't agree with something, I would think about it and say, okay, I'm going to say something. Okay, here you go, and I would say what my opinion was. And eventually, with people that if you're doing that with people that you trust first, that's what happens. So I give some examples of that in my book when I get to each step, and then at the end of each chapter, it will tell you if you want to know more, if you want to work on this a little bit more. Page this page in the workbook can help you work through that.
Oh, well, that's cool. So maybe I need to grab that book before we start these workbooks.
Yeah, I know, it's a shame it wasn't at the same. Things happen, life happens, and I just had to let go and roll with it. But now they're both here, and I'm very excited.
Well, we have another question that came in for you, Shamayne, and it is: can emotional wellness really change relationships?
Oh, I think so. I think we have to be healthy, and we have to really understand what matters to us. And the wellness is all about self-awareness and just understanding what's best for you. And once you have that, in fact, chapter, I don't know the numbers of the chapters, but the laces. In the laces of the shoe, they represent to me a connection of kind of coming in, because we reach the laces in the workbook at step 7, and there's 8 altogether, all the shoe components. And by that time, you've been layering, your values and beliefs, and building that foundation of your soul. And then moving to the healing. The healing is a tough one, because there's a lot involved in that. And then you're building up your support system and learning how to set your boundaries. And the toe is actually the thing that guides us forward, one step at a time. Learning to trust your intuition and your inner wisdom, that internal compass. And then by the time we get to the laces part, you've layered all of these things on top of each other, and you have really built a healthier, more balanced life. And so we talk about relationships in that, about how the deepest connection you can make is with yourself. But by doing that, it then becomes easier to have healthy relationships with others.
Shamayne, can men use this workbook?
Now, I'll be honest, I wrote it with women in mind because I'm a woman and it was my story. But I have, there's actually a review on Amazon for my book by a man, and he glows over it. He said it really helped him. Like he thought he would sit down and read a few chapters. It's not a very thick read, but he ended up reading the whole thing. And many times men will walk up to me and say, I know you wrote this for women, but I got a lot out of this. So yes, if you come from a place where you're not, really sure where you came from, I think the book definitely could be helpful.
Well, when I was going through the workbook, I was like, I can see some parts of it helping a man open up and learn to express themselves. We had a lot of men on Teatime, and they've all been told, like, suck it up, buttercup, and,
Right.
big boys don't cry and stuff like that. But I like to have men's stories on here as well, because it opens up the door of sharing that their lives matter as well. And during the workbook, I could see parts where I'd be like, oh, my son could use this too. And my daughter could use this more, but my son could use this. So I can see that it's good for both. I know that you originally wrote it for women, but I can see both genres enjoying it. I want to talk to you about the 8 ways to practice authenticity. I have discovery, release, nurture, grow, express, visualize, connect, and flourish.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about each of those words, Shamayne?
Sure. We might have to go through one at a time.
Yeah, one at a time. Just like a shoe, one shoe at a time.
I've been attending a summit this week, and you know how you attend a few days of a summit and all of a sudden your brain's fatigued. It's like so much valuable information, and now help me think this through. So, yes. And it sounds like you were naming the steps.
Yeah. The 8 steps. That's what I found. I found the 8 ways to practice authenticity. And the first one was discover.
And to me, that's discovering yourself, your core. What is it? One of the things I did in that early on, one of the first things I did when I was realizing that my beliefs and values didn't align with what I had been taught, I simply asked myself, what do you like? Write down what you like. I like, I don't remember what it was at that time, but I mean, simple things like I like ice cream. I like walking barefoot in the grass. I like, just things that you like, and then I did a column for what do you not like? What are your dislikes? What don't you like? I don't like to be in crowded rooms where we're shoulder to shoulder, like a concert. I now go to concerts where I can sit, and I like, where I can see. And because I'm claustrophobic, and I didn't ever identify that with myself. So yes, that's really just getting to know who you are.
The next one I have is release.
Release is the heel of letting go. When I say letting go, it's not just like, I need to let go of that and just walk away. It means, observing and acknowledging the things that are holding you back, that no longer serve you, and then slowly, gently releasing them by replacing them with something that is that serves you better at this time.
And nurture. What's nurture about?
Nurture, that to me was, and this can go with the arch and the support but it was about nurturing my inner self. When you're changing and becoming the person you're meant to be, you're still holding on to a lot of the things that you were trained and socialized to believe, things like that. And sometimes that you recognize, it's kind of like you're living two, I don't know, for me, it felt this way. It'd be like I would react a certain way in a situation that was not becoming of me, that I didn't like about me. So I would have to stop and say, okay, why did you act that way? Or why did you react? Why did you slam the door on that person? Or why did you walk off abruptly? And when I recognize, oh yeah, I remember I didn't feel wanted, or I didn't feel this, I felt unworthy and I was embarrassed. And so I shut the door and walked off. I didn't want to face it. And so what I would do is talk to that, my inner self. I talked to myself. I just said, you know what? I'm an adult now and I can take care of you. You're not going to be left alone anymore. So the nurturing was really just calming myself and helping me understand that you're not in harm anymore. You're safe and I'm here to protect you. And then eventually those molded or, came into one. And sometimes I still have to ask, like, certain things to myself, but I can understand it pretty quickly now.
Shamayne, why do you think we're so hard on our inner selves?
Well, I think for me, it was because the people around me when I was younger were so hard on me. My mom was very critical about the way we looked, all of the kids. We had to look perfect because that was how she controlled her life. If she could look good and everyone thought we looked like the perfect family, then she was safe. And so, but her critiques on me and my siblings really lowered our self-esteem and our confidence and stuff. And so I think a lot of times we carry that, or not a lot, I mean, most of the time we carry that with us into our adulthood and continue to just repeat those same words or just, we need to give ourselves a break because we're creating something new out of something that was damaged or not damaged, but just, mistreated or misguided. And so it takes that nurturing and then that understanding that you're not a bad person. We just have to sometimes relearn things and accept who we are.
Shamayne, do you feel the workbook is for inner child healing?
I'm not a specialist in that. I did go through some of that with my own therapist. So I believe that a lot of the exercises and journaling and the things that I do tend to lean towards that and to help that. Yes, for sure. It's because the way I saw it in my journey is I wasn't starting over. I was just reinventing and rebuilding what had broken or what had been torn from me. And then letting go of the things that I no longer needed.
And Shamayne, what inspired you to retire and fully step into your coaching work?
Oh gosh. And I'm not, by the way, I consider myself more of a mentor and because I speak and I facilitate workshops and you can call that a type of coaching, but I'm not specializing in any particular area of coaching. But I left because I was no longer fulfilled in the work environment that I was working. I felt by going through this journey, I felt I had outgrown what I had started doing all those years ago. And I worked in corporate for 30 years, but I left because this became my passion. And it was an opportunity that happened because I couldn't have just walked away without any compensation or anything. It wasn't like that. In my case, it's great if you can do it, if you can and you want to. But it just so happened that, I just have to say right here is that when you begin following your heart and you begin identifying, who you are and the things that really make you, it's funny how things begin to fall into place. I'm not saying it just gets easier and everything's, roses, but things do begin to you begin to see the plan unfolding in front of you. And so I was getting to that point at work. I was unfulfilled. I was outgrowing the job and they kept trying to, they cut people everywhere and they kept wanting me to take up the slack for all the people they were letting go. And it was just not fun anymore. And 1 month during that year, I was eligible for early retirement. So I thought, you know what, this is a sign for me. I need to go ahead and do that. So I did. But it was because I wanted to bring this message out to the world, to other people. And I wasn't going to be able to do that while still working. And so I was able to focus full time on my book and my workbook and get it done. And I'm practically, my daughter said, you started a new career, Mom. And I was like, oh yeah.
It is like that when you start writing, it's like a career, right? Because there's so much work behind writing a book and workbooks. How long did it take you to write the workbook?
Well, the workbook came together after the dream in 2016, and I just started piecing it together. And then after my retirement from corporate, I hired a coach who coached on workbooks. And so if you consider from the time I started, the idea came, that took me almost 10 years. But applying everything and putting it together and designing everything, that was just a year or two once I had the complete framework. Also, I have to admit that I am very lucky to have a husband who's a graphic designer. So I mentioned that with the logo too, but it's that probably cut out a lot of time and obviously it saved me a whole lot of money that he was able to do all of the branding for me. But yeah, it took about about 2 years total. Once I had the framework and all ready. I was teaching some of these, I was testing out the framework and teaching the workshop while I was still in corporate. We had, that's a great place if you're in corporate and you're wanting to branch out into something more passionate, look within that company to see if they have any groups that can support you. I did presentations for women's groups and things like that. So I was getting my feet wet while I was still at corporate on my own time, but just taking an hour here one day and an hour there another day, and just kind of building up to that so I could leave.
Shamayne, do you have a connection with your feet?
What a great question. I love that. I do like to be grounded, and I do like to go and stand in the grass barefoot. There's something about being on the ground and your feet touching the ground and feeling it that just makes you feel energized. And I don't know, there's just something so soulful about that. That was unintended. That was a pun, not intended. I guess it was meant to be that way, but yeah, I would say so. Just I'm not a foot fetish or anything like that, but I definitely understand the importance of my feet and how they ground me. They keep me standing, and they're very important. And I do have that. I also paint my toenails, so.
I want you have the book beside you. I have the workbook. If you could just hold up the book so people can see that it is exactly the same as the workbook. Yeah.
It's just a little bit smaller.
So with that book, Shamayne, what is it, a book that you could jump from chapter to chapter, or is it read chapter 1, 2, 3, 4? Because I like to bounce around when I read a book sometimes.
Yes, I think you could bounce around some, but as I explained before, each of the steps tend to layer one on top of the other. And maybe you already know parts of yourself that are in those steps, and you're like, well, I already understand this. But it's always good to kind of refresh yourself and just make sure you're where you are, where you should be right now compared to where you thought you were before. But it's like 186 pages. It's not very long. And my daughter tells me when she was reading it, she said, Mom, it's a good read and it's hard to put down. And but so, I think it would be best not to have to do that, but I'm not going to tell someone they can't. But
I do that when it's like got workbooks and that, because then I'll kind of jump and say, oh, I got to go to this page. And
Uh-huh.
I'm a skimmer, and then if I really get into a book, then I'll read the book
Well,
from
then
start
you
to
just
finish and then
read
backwards.
whatever works for you, and this is just a guide. It's just there to help you. And I feel the best way to do it is front to back, but if you feel you need to do the other, you're still going to gain something from it.
So what do you want people to get from this book?
I want them to know that it is never too late to reclaim who they are. I also want them to know that each of us belongs. Our stories matter, and we were born to be seen for who we are, for who we truly are, be seen and heard for who we truly are. Because the authentic self is the thing that is so endearing and, to others, is when you're authentic. People know it instinctively, and they may not be thinking it, but it's instinctively, they're like, I like this person. They seem real. They seem genuine. So the better you know yourself and can display, share that with others, the happier you'll feel, I believe.
Shamayne, what does it mean to wear shoes that fit your soul?
That means simply that you are stepping into the shoes that feel that make you comfortable in who you are. I often I like shoes. I have several pair of shoes, but they are me. You can see, not everyone would wear shoes like me, and I'm not going to wear shoes like everyone else. So it's about picking the shoe that feels best for you. And really what that is your identity. How, when you step into when it's an analogy of stepping into a pair of shoes that you feel comfortable in, you can walk out of the house and just feel so, good about yourself and all that because of what your shoes or your clothes or whatever it is you're wearing, but it's authentic. And when you get to that point in your journey where you feel that way about your soul and about who you are, you have found your fit.
Absolutely. Well, Shamayne, I have some lightning questions here for you. So just quick answers. Heel, boot, or barefoot?
Oh, no heels for sure. I can answer that fast. And
no heels.
And I tell you what, if I had to pick between those, I actually like the boots. And I wear combat boots and stuff like that. I like wearing boots. Some of my most comfortable shoes have been boots, but barefoot in the summer for sure.
Do you ever wear Peter Pan boots?
Do what?
Peter Pan boots. They were like in the 80s. They were like the little,
yeah, they were the short,
almost like a cowboy kind of.
And they pointed and
yeah.
I'm sure I did. I try to stay on ahead of the trend, and so if that was there at one point, I probably did have them. You're right.
Confidence feels like blank.
Confidence feels like that I accept myself for who I am. When I am speaking or in a place that I'm new, if I'm doing or saying things that I'm passionate about, I am the most confident. When I believe in something and I'm talking, I feel very confident, and it just feels freeing. It just feels so freeing.
I think that was one of the words you gave me to describe yourself, was confident. No, it was curious and compassionate is what you gave me to describe yourself.
We need to be curious all the time, whether it's with ourselves or with other people, or whatever is around us. Just be curious and not judgmental, but just be curious.
And one daily mindful practice that you do?
I do yoga in the morning.
How early?
Not that early. That's another thing when you retire from corporate. I set my own. But I love my morning routine. I started doing that a little bit during the pandemic, but really in those last 2 years, I started getting up in the morning. I do my yoga, and usually it's 15, 20 minutes. I can go up to 30, but I don't stress myself out of not getting it done. want to stretch and breathe, and just it starts my day off so well. And then I go and I make my breakfast. And my husband is, I told you, the creative designer, so he works late in the evening. That's his creative time, 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. So we have a little bit different schedule. So in the morning, that's my time, and I just take advantage of that, and that's what I do every morning during the week. Weekends are different, but
An identity begins with blank.
identity
Begins with.
Identity begins with naming, naming those values, naming who you want to become, naming it. Just identifying those things becomes your identity, and putting all those things together in your unique way.
And finish this. When her shoe fits.
When her shoe fits, she can accomplish anything she wants to.
I love it. The impossible dream of wearing the impossible shoe.
Right? I do. When I'm comfortable with my shoes, and I've had all that, I am. I feel like I can do anything. Don't get me wrong. I have my down times. There are times when I need to pick me up. I need someone to validate or encourage me or something. But when I reach that point again, I feel like I can do anything.
And Shamayne, do you have any workshops coming up, or any new books coming out, or any good events that we should know about?
I am working on getting a workshop scheduled, and I want to do some virtual workshops because I was doing those during the pandemic. But in person to me is the best way to relate with people and really get to know people. But I don't have any scheduled yet. My book launch is scheduled for April 12th. But I'm here in Texas and near Austin, and that's where I'll be having it.
Oh, I love that. I got you before the book even came out. I love it.
It's available, but yeah, the big launches. I cannot wait. I am so excited to see my family and friends and people who are coming that not even aware of, but I can't wait for that. And I'll be doing some author talks. I just have one planned for May right now, but Miss Liz, I am trying to get into the shoe stores. I want to do some author talks in shoe stores where the women I want to reach are. I might even do some boutiques or something, but I just feel like that's where my people are going to be. And so we're working.
I kind of like the way that's marketing, because people are buying shoes and getting a workbook. Like, I think it's a good market strategy.
That was just something that when I walked into my favorite shoe store, I thought,
my book needs to be here.
I should do a book launch here, or an author talk or something. These are all the people.
I think it's nice to be creative, right? When we're launching books.
Yes.
Think outside of the box.
Well,
right?
to me, that's the funnest part of this whole thing, is being creative about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of women. I say women because I've been going to the Women in Publishing Summit, and a lot of the speakers are talking about being creative about the book launches, and I'm like, check.
I got the bookstore. I got the shoe stores. Would your first shoe store be a running shoe store?
Probably not. I'm not a runner. I like shoes that I do, like loafers and Oxfords, and I just like kind of, I don't know how to describe them. I mean, they're so, just what are they called? Just something chic and comfortable. I go for comfort a lot. And now running shoes are comfortable, but I'm not a runner, so it wouldn't be that. It would be something where office stylish, kind of business stylish, or just fun shoes that are fun to wear.
So like Crocs?
I don't have a pair of those.
Gotta get this girl a pair of Crocs.
I don't. I tend to wear things that go with that coordinate with everything I'm wearing. I don't know. Somebody once said menswear or something like that, where, I mean, they look like, men's loafers or something. I like things like that tie up, or buckles. I love buckles.
Oh, so
Yeah.
I can see why you like the boots over the barefoot, because the
Yeah.
buckles on the boots.
Yeah. And yeah.
Do you think that's another book coming out?
You
got the shoes, now you got the boots.
There you go. Yeah, gosh, I'll have to work on that. What's the metaphor here? What's the symbolism to the boot? Yeah, I might. I've thought about doing a children's book, just to help young people understand what it's like to know who they are. And I think the shoe could be used easily with younger people,
and easy for them to learn as well. Because the shoe is really easy to describe, right? The heel, the tongue, the laces, all words that little kids can say.
Eyelets, creating a vision and goals for yourself through the eyes.
Little vision boards.
Mm-hmm. In the workshops I do, we do vision boards too.
So what final message would you have for everyone tonight, Shamayne?
Well, just first of all, thank you all. And thank you for being you. I mean, I said a little bit earlier, but your voice, your stories are needed and they matter. Don't compare yourself to other people. Your story is unique and something that you have to say. It may not be everything you say, but there'll be something in there that someone will take to heart and say, I needed that today. I needed to hear that. Or, wow, that was a great idea. Why, I never thought of that. That happened when I was telling my story to a woman who's a professional runner. I started telling her about the shoe and she was like, oh my gosh, I never even thought of that, So it's just, your voices matter, no matter how soft or low or high or loud, or it doesn't matter. You're needed. We are meant to be relational with each other. And so share that story.
Shamayne, if anybody wants to reach out to you, how could they reach out to you? And if you could spell out your website for the audio listeners.
Sure. The website's the name of the book, Shoes That Fit Her Soul. So shoes, SHOES, that, THAT, fit, FIT, her, HER, soul, SOUL.com.
And if anybody wanted to have you like on their podcast or for you to speak or anything, where could they reach you?
They can reach me through the website. My email is SO.Kotfas, and that's KOT as in Tom, F as in Frank, AS as in Sam. So it's SO.Kotfas@gmail.com. And I'm on the socials. LinkedIn is another good place to find me, and Instagram and Facebook, and it's at Shamayne Olivia. My books are on Amazon as well, and then you can also purchase through my website.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation tonight and having you back as a returning guest. We always learn a little bit more. If anybody would like to see Shamayne's first Tea Time, you can check out season 6. She was on, I believe, at the end of last year she was on. So you can check out her Tea Time there. But I just want to thank you again for joining me. And I'm just going to do a wrap up of what tonight's Tea Time was. And then we will be back on Thursday with 2 new Tea Times. What a meaningful and empowering conversation. Shamayne, thank you for reminding us that growth begins the moment we allow ourselves to be honest about who we are and where we want to go. Your message encourages people to trust themselves, to honor their journey, and to believe that transformation is possible. Tonight, we were reminded that alignment is not about perfection. It is about authenticity. When we give ourselves permission to grow, to change, and to evolve, we create space for a life that truly reflects who we are. To everyone listening, may you leave this Tea Time inspired to trust your voice, embrace your growth, and move forward with confidence in your own path. Until our next gathering, keep choosing alignment, keep choosing growth, and keep pouring courage into your journey. And I'll see everybody on Thursday, same time, same place, and we'll do this all over again. And we have 2 more women for International Women Month, so we will get that onto you. But if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to ask Miss Liz, you can reach out to me at my website at www.misslizsteatimes.com or my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you to all the new viewers and listeners who's joined us tonight. I'll see everybody on Thursday, and we'll do it all over again.